Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Paulymath Show. In this episode, I want to talk about how to become a good finisher. And this is especially important for people who are scanner type personality like myself. If you're a scanner or polymath type personality, you've probably heard throughout your entire life things like you never finish anything, you're always starting something new, when are you going to find something that you're going to stick to, why do you quit so easily? These are typical criticisms that a scanner type personality will hear throughout their entire life. So how do we become good at actually finishing the things that we start? Well, there's really only one secret, one way that a scanner type personality can become good at getting things finished. And that is simply to redefine your definition of the word finished, okay? Now, here's the thing. If you're a scanner type personality and you want to learn something new, let's say you become inspired to learn an instrument. Let's say you want to learn how to play the piano. So you have a scanner type personality, you want to learn how to play piano. And then you take another person who is a specialist type personality and they want to learn to play piano. Well, these two type of personalities, these two types of people will enter into that same project with two completely different intentions and a completely different purpose behind why they're doing that thing, that project, or learning that new skill. However, we tend to define the word finished in a more specialist type way. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say I wanted to learn how to play piano. If I sit down and really ask myself and say, okay, why do I want to learn how to play piano? What is it that I'm looking for? And let's say I define and say, well, the reason I want to learn it is because one, I want a new challenge in my life. I want to learn something new. I'm kind of bored. I want to learn something new. Okay, so a new challenge. Two, I think that it would help me to become more creative. It'll kind of help me tap into the creative side of my brain and help me become more creative in my business. Okay. Thirdly, because I think learning how to play piano will be kind of fun. And fourthly, I think it'd be kind of neat to learn how to play my favorite song on the piano, whatever that song may be. So let's say that those are my 4 reasons why I'm originally inspired to learn how to play piano, okay? Now let's take the specialist type personality. Let's say they get inspired to learn the piano. For them, it might be about learning how to play piano so that they can actually take lessons, they can become a professional piano player, they can maybe play in a concert hall or have a professional career as a piano player for the rest of their life. Or maybe they want to perform at some big event and become the #1 piano player in the world or something like that. So as a specialist, people tend to create more long-term and more permanent type of intentions and purposes behind the projects that they start. As scanners, we typically have a much shorter time frame for why we're doing things. Okay, now if you take the word finished, if you take a project like that and you think of the word finished, you have to become aware that for you as a scanner, to finish that project, it's a totally different set of requirements. If you hit those 4 things that I talked about, then you've finished that project. So if I pick up the piano, let's say I went to Best Buy and I bought myself like a digital piano, or I went to a music store and I bought a digital piano or something, and I spent 6 weeks learning how to play the piano, and then I spent maybe, I don't know, another month or 2 getting a little bit better. And after that, I said, you know what? I've learned one song, I've gotten good at it, but I'm now kind of bored of this thing, and I want to just leave it and move on to something else. By definition, I have finished that project because if I've gotten those 4 things out of it, if it was a new challenge and it was challenging and fun for me to learn it, that's cool. I've hit that one. If it helped me become more creative, great. If I learned that one song that I wanted to learn, my favorite song to play on the piano, if I learned it, that's great. And if I had fun while learning it, there you go. I've hit all 4 of those things. So therefore, I have finished that project. Now, have I become a professional piano player? No. Am I ever going to perform at a concert hall if I give up on playing the piano at that point? No. But those are not the reasons why I came into that project in the first place. Those are reasons that a specialist might have, but as a scanner type personality, we don't think the same way. So we have totally different intentions behind the projects that we get into. So when you start a new project, let's say you're starting a new website, a new business, learning some kind of new skill, learning a new instrument, or even meeting a friend or starting a new relationship, whatever it may be, just become clear on why you're doing it. What is the intention behind it? What are you trying to get out of this this new project? What are the things that you're trying to achieve? Become clear on what your definition of finished is, so that you don't fall into the trap of feeling like you've failed and you haven't finished doing a project, even though you have technically finished. Once you get what you wanted out of a project, you're finished. You're done. It may not be the definition of finished that a specialist type personality would have for the same project, but it doesn't matter. That's none of your business what their definition is. You just have to follow your own definition. So if you start a blog or a website, and let's say you get it to $1,000 per month in income and you want to quit and move on to something else, you finish that project. Now, somebody out there might say, well, that's stupid. You should continue on with it. You should grow it further. You should do more. If you're done with it, you're done with it. That's up to you. That's none of anybody else's business how, what you do with your projects. Just become aware of what your intentions are at the beginning part of the project, so that once you finish it and you find yourself losing interest in that thing, you don't end up clinging on to these things for long, for long periods of time because you're feeling guilty that you haven't finished it. Like, if you've gotten everything that you wanted to get out of playing that piano, learning how to play piano, so technically you've finished as a scanner what you came for. And if you're aware of that and you admit to yourself, okay, I'm finished with this project, it will allow you to let go of that project and move on. Meaning, maybe you can take that piano now and sell it off and use the money to invest in another project or something like that. That way you're saying, okay, I finished that and I've moved on. Versus if you have an idea, if somebody, if you're using kind of like a specialist type definition of what it means to finish something, then that period of time you played the piano, you learned it, and you've gotten everything you want out of it, and now you're kind of finding that you're not really playing it that much. If a specialist comes in and says, well, how's your piano playing, how's that going, and you kind of feel guilty and you're like, well, I've been kind of busy, I haven't done it a little bit, I haven't done too much of it, but I'll get back into it pretty soon. The reality is if you've gotten what you wanted out of it, just let it go. And if somebody else asks you like that, they're like, how's the piano thing? Say, I already finished that project. And they're like, what do you mean you finished it? I finished it. I wanted to learn piano so that I could learn one song. I learned one song and I've moved on. And they'll fight you on it. Of course, specialists will always fight you. They're going to think, oh, that's stupid. Well, you spent all that time and you bought a piano and you spent all the time learning it. Why don't you stick to it? And why don't you go on, and play the piano professionally? Don't worry about their definitions of what it means to finish something. It's none of your business, and it's none of their business how you define things. Create definitions for yourself so you become aware, hey, you know what? This thing is finished. This thing is finished. This project is finished when I've achieved this, and this milestone. Once you hit those milestones, you're done. You're finished. Doesn't matter that 99% of the world looking from the outside in will look at what you're doing and say, he didn't finish what he started. He's not even halfway done. That's their definition. Pick your own definition. It's your life, your projects, your businesses, whatever you're doing. It's up to you to decide what is your definition of finishing something. That's really the only way that as a scanner you can continue to start new projects and get what you want out of them and move on to the next ones without creating this big huge clutter in your life of what you consider unfinished projects because of your definition from from the outside world, or what the outside world considers unfinished projects. And if you don't do that, you'll have this big, huge clutter box of, stuff that you're finished with, but because the rest of the world doesn't think that you're finished with it or doesn't judge you for being finished with it, you hang on to it to pretend like you're still working on that or you're still going after it. If you went in there, you got what you wanted, you're done with it, let it go. If at some point in the future you want to come back to it, no problem. You can always come back to it. Right? So if, like in that example of the piano, maybe once you finish and you've gotten everything out of it, sell the piano, move on, pick up, if you want to come back to playing piano a year later or 5 years later, you can always buy another one. Once in a while you will, have a situation where you might sell off some stuff or put a project aside and then, or get rid of the equipment you had for it and then find out later on that you could have come back, and you know, you found, you kind of rekindled your interest in it, and now you've sold this piano, you don't have a piano play. But you know what? In reality, that'll probably only happen about 1 or 2% of the time. 98% of the time, you're going to, once you let go of that project, you're never really going to come back to it. So there really is no point in hanging on to a whole bunch of crap that you don't need anymore. Let it go and sell it off, give it to somebody else, move on to the next project, and learn from the next project, and use the money that you've sold the piano to kind of finance the next thing that you're going after. So use that as a definition. Try that out. Play around with it. Look at all the projects that you have in your life right now, and ask yourself all the things that you feel like you're feeling guilty for not finishing, and ask yourself, okay, what was it that I originally wanted out of this project? When I first got inspired to do this project, what was I trying to accomplish with it in the first place? Ask yourself that and say, what did I want? What were the 3 main things that I wanted to get out of this? And then ask yourself, did you get those 3 main things? If you've gotten those 3 main things, you may very well have finished that project. It's just that in your mind, you think you haven't finished it because your definition of finished is coming from an external point of view, someone else's values, like a specialist type person's values coming in saying, well, you haven't finished that thing. Look, you haven't done this and this and this and this, right? Too bad. That's none of their business. You're not living your life through someone else's value. Live your life through your own values. And if in your values you say that I started this project, I wanted to get 3 things out of it, I've gotten those 3 things out of it, if that's the case, then you're done. You are finished. All right, so I hope that helps you guys out. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click the button above to subscribe. Click the like button if you guys like this video, and don't forget to leave your comments. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.